Hi there. Hello, thanks for joining. I am really looking forward to chatting a little bit about self-perception and, hi Kayla, and the assumptions that we make. So let's see, sent a request to be in your live video. Let's see. So for those of you who don't know this already, I am not great when it comes to, good morning. I don't have all of the, I don't have all the details worked out. So anyway, I am going to hold off on allowing anyone into this video for now. And if people have questions, I'll be watching the comments. So feel free to ask any questions and I will do my best to answer everyone's questions. So self-perception and assumptions. What is really fascinating is that our self-perception really guides our entire life. So how we think of ourselves, and there's a distinction, right? There's who we think ourselves to be, and then there's who we know ourselves to be. And there's something that I talk about, and those of you who have taken my courses already know this. We have our big S self with a capital S, and then we have our little s self. And our big S self is like our inner knowing. It's when we're aligned with our inner knowing and we know who we are and we're acting from our highest self. And our little s self is all of our self-doubts, all of the things that we've told ourselves or we believed to be true about ourselves. And so it's when we're operating from this smaller version of ourself. And so the thing we want to do is get really curious about how is my self-perception influencing my life? Because if we feel ourselves to be smaller than we are, right? If we are allowing our old stories in our mind to determine what we're expecting. Okay, and so our self-perception is who we believe ourselves to be. And our assumptions, the assumptions we make about who we are, about what our life is going to look like, our assumptions about life in general, and our assumptions about what other people think about us. So just take a moment to get curious about what your self-perception is. If you had to write down, this is who I am and this is who I think myself to be. And a really good way to do this is when we are in moments of what I call survival mode, when we're feeling not good about ourselves. What are the things that we say about ourselves? What are the things we say to be true about ourselves when we're not feeling great? Because these are the themes that are running in our subconscious mind. And so what we want to do is we want to change our self-perception to be in greater alignment with what we want. We want to change our self-perception to be in alignment with who we know ourselves to be. Now, our assumptions that we make about ourselves, like, oh, I never went to college, so I'm never going to be successful. Or I didn't finish my master's, and so now I'll never be at that intellectual level with my peers. Like whatever conclusions and narratives we're making about our life are part of our self-perception. And the great thing is we can work our self-perception so it's in greater alignment with what we want. Okay, so here's some questions to ask yourself. First is, you want to know what you want. When we know what we want, when we know what our desire is, it's that much easier to go after it. And then we want to know what's getting in the way, what's working in my life, what's not working. And when we shine a light on these areas, then we start getting more of the information. What's working, what's not working. So when we have a desire, that opens up this whole realm of possibility for us. And when we have negative expectations or doubts, that is also determining our outcomes. So our desire is shining a light on what's possible, and our doubts, if we stick with our doubts and if we keep believing our doubts, then that is guiding our probability. So just keep that in mind. Our desire shows us what's possible, and our expectations and our doubts and our assumptions are telling us what's probable. Because if we play these narratives within our mind that are based on our assumptions and our expectations and things we don't want, that is driving our ship toward whatever it is. So we want to make sure that the assumptions and the expectations that we have for ourselves and for our life and for our desires, that they're in alignment with what we want. So our expectations and our assumptions about ourselves and our life and who we are super powerful. So our self-perception, who we believe ourselves to be, our assumptions about ourselves and our life and others and our desires and what's possible and our expectations. All of those things are a huge driving force for what's happening in our life. Okay? And the next thing is we want our home to reinforce the things we want, because right now, as it is, our environment is perpetuating our internal narrative and the conclusions or the assumptions that we're making about our life. So we want to make sure that our house is in alignment. Our home, like each room in our home, is communicating the language of what we want. So the first thing that you can do is go through every room in your home and make sure there's nothing, what I call toxic clutter. And toxic clutter is anything in your space that brings up a negative thought, a negative memory, or a negative feeling. And so you want to get rid of all toxic clutter in your home. Okay, and this does go back to self-perception, because when you have something in your home and it's communicating something that doesn't feel good, that every time that you go by that, okay, every time your subconscious mind notices it, which is always, right? Because if you have a picture on the wall and it's tilted, the subconscious mind notices it immediately, because the subconscious mind is meant to keep us safe. And so it notices when things are off in our environment. So back to toxic clutter. If you have something in your home that brings up a negative feeling, memory, or emotion, every single time your subconscious notices that, it is going to communicate whatever that message is. Okay, so it's really, really important, excuse me, that there's nothing in your home, I'm so sorry, that communicates in a negative way. All right, so assumptions. Get out a pen and paper whenever you get a chance and just write down, what are your assumptions about yourself? What are your assumptions about your life? What are your assumptions about other people or what they think of you? And then take out a piece of paper and write down who you think you are, okay? This isn't who you know yourself to be, but who do you think you are? If you are, and it's really good to do this with the frame of mind that like you're having a bad day or you've just been knocked down. Like, what would you say about your life? And this is going to help you with the self-perception that you have going on. And then write down your self-perception, who you know yourself to be. So if you imagined yourself in 5 years living your best life, we call this your future self. So in 5 years, you're living your dream life. What would you tell yourself about you? how would you describe who you are? And this is the self-perception that you want to hold on to. This is the self-perception you want to cling to. So if you imagine yourself on a timeline, and who we are now, if without bringing awareness, who we are now is a story of our past. And what we want to do is we want to cling to who we know ourselves to be, what our ideal life is. And that's the person that we want to carry with us. That's the self-perception that we want to hold on to, because that is going to change the outcomes of our life. And I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but I go into this in much greater detail in the mental reset. But what is happening? So we have two homes. We have the home where we live, the place we call home, and we have the home where we live within our mind. And our mind, we think our mind is just in our head, but our mind is in this whole capsule that we inhabit for this lifetime. And we know that because our feelings live in our physical body. So sometimes I go down rabbit holes and I have to stay on track. So we have two homes. We have the space of our mind and we have the space where we live. And the key ingredient is our desire. Our desire is the juice of life. It's what gets us excited about getting out of bed. It's what grows enthusiasm and delight. And it's palpable. When you see people who are living in alignment with their desires, you see like the buoyancy of their body and you hear it in their voice. And so we want our desire to be a prominent place in our life. Just as much as our well-being, just as much as we care for our home, we want to treat our desire like it's like it's our child, right? Like it's this huge part of us. And the thing is with our desire is like our evolutionary driver. Our desire is unique to us and we have it for a reason. This is how we dance with life, and this is how life communicates with us. And so the most important thing is that we acknowledge our desire and we follow our desire. And you don't even have to know what it is. Just open up your curiosity. And I have a free course right now. If you don't know what you want, or if you know what you want, but you want to get more clear about it, I have a free course right now and you can get it in the link in my bio. The thing is with our desire is once we know what we want, then it's much easier to get there, right? If we don't know what we want, it's like taking a road trip. So once we know what we want, then it's easier to identify the obstacles getting in our way. And we have the internal obstacles that are in our mind, and then we have the external obstacles in our life. And this is what the mental reset is all about. It's going through from desire and through the obstacles and aligning everything in your space. And it's a really fun program. So if you're interested in that, I highly, highly recommend it. So our self-perception is the place of our inner home, how we perceive ourselves to be, how we perceive our life to be. This is the landscape of our inner home. And we get to decide how we perceive ourselves, right? We have how we've perceived ourselves up until today has been like on the back burner. But how we perceive ourselves from today moving forward, we get to decide. And when we change our self-perception, everything in our life changes. So if you imagined that you have these internal recordings and these internal beliefs that you made a mistake 20 years ago and now you'll never get the life you want, and that you're just doomed to have this mediocre life and good things never happen to you and you're just not that smart and you're just not that attractive and whatever the stories are, like we all live with versions of that story. If every day we're thinking those thoughts, we're minimizing, we're reducing the expanse of what's possible for us. If we wake up and we decide, you know what? I have been hard on myself. I have been critical of myself, and I have been living in a box. And I have made my realm of possibility very, very narrow because I thought myself to be a certain way. And I'm done with that. And now I'm ready to live my life on my terms. And I'm ready to decide what I want. And I don't care what my fears are. I'm just going to go after it. And so I'm going to redefine my self-perception. I'm going to look at who I want to be. I'm going to think about the life I want to experience. And I am going to flush it out so it's so viscerally clear. And every day when I wake up in the morning and when I go to bed at night, I am going to read my self-perception, who I know myself to be and who I'm stepping into every single day. I'm creating a new story for myself. And that begins with our self-perception. And so go through what you want. Take my free course, or don't take the free course, do it any way you want. Get really clear about the person you know yourself to be and imagine what your life is going to be like in 5 years. And in that course, I have this wheel. And this wheel divides our life into 12 different categories. And within each of those categories, write down what is your life going to look like? And how you, right, this self-perception, we're developing your self-perception, how you're going to experience who you are in each of these areas. Write it down and then get it down to one page. After you've had fun and gone in a lot of detail, get it down to one page. And every night when you go to bed and every morning when you wake up, read it and feel it in your bones. Feel the truth of it happening. Okay. Every day you're taking one step toward it, and every day this life is taking 10 steps towards you. Okay. Because there's something important that happens when we sleep. The moments prior to sleeping and the moments upon waking, the subconscious mind is really, really malleable. And so that's why you never want to go to bed mad at someone, because it festers, right? Whatever we plant in the moments before we go to bed, it gets amplified, it proliferates. So we want to make sure that we take advantage of this nugget of time with this self-perception that we're developing, because the process of really being what we're perceiving ourselves to be. I didn't say that the great way, but we will accelerate this process of being who we want to be and feeling that if we take advantage of those moments before bed. Okay, so what you go to bed, what you seed in those moments before bed is going to proliferate as you sleep. And when you wake up, you're going to feel the effects of it. So read your self-perception when you go to bed and read it when you wake up in the morning. That's really important. And then make a list of your assumptions, because a lot of times we don't think about the assumptions we make about ourselves. We don't think about the assumptions we make about life. We don't think about the assumptions we make about our future. And so write down your assumptions, and it doesn't have to be the assumptions you want. Just be honest. What are my assumptions about myself? What are my assumptions about life? What are my assumptions about my future? And then see, am I being self-honest or am I being self-critical? Am I following my doubts or am I following what I want? Am I living my life from a place of fear or am I living my life from a place of love and enthusiasm? So look at your self-perception, look at your assumptions, and see, are they in alignment with what you want? Because once our self-perception and our assumptions about ourself and our life and our future are in alignment with what we want, life is going to start happening in a really magical way. You're going to have surprises. Life is going to deliver you more of what you want. And what you're going to realize is that we've been the master of our own life all along. Like, the truth about manifesting is that we cannot help but manifest. We are constantly manifesting. And it's our self-perception and our assumptions and our imagination and our desires and our feelings that are the ingredients that create whatever it is we're manifesting. And so that's why it's so important that our self-perception and our assumption and our desires are all lined up and they're on the same page. So, does anyone have any questions? I know some people have popped in, and I'll keep the recording up for a bit, so those who didn't get in the beginning or the middle can still see it. So our self-perception is the seed, or one of the seeds that creates the outcomes of our life. If we feel ourselves to be small, if we keep ourselves small, if we're full of self-doubt, if we are acting from our smaller self and we're not stepping into who we know ourselves to be, that is going to determine the course of our life. If we step into who we are, if we allow our own brilliance, if we allow our voice to be heard, if we follow our desire and follow what feels good and going after this like passion-filled life, which P.S., following your desire is what grows that passion-filled life. So we want to be really clear about what our desire is. So I have created a whole program. It's a 12-week program, but it can be taken at whatever pace you like. It's called the Mental Reset. It's linked in my bio. I also have a free course that helps you jump into this whole topic of what you want, your self-perception, your desire, because once we identify what we want, one, we're exponentially more likely to get there, just like a road trip, and two, we are able to identify what's getting in our way. So the free course, and I also have a newsletter. Every Sunday, I send out a newsletter. It's called The Tribe. You can join that. That's totally free. And when you sign up for The Tribe, you get access to this free course. And let me know if you have any questions. Like, I had so much fun putting this work together, the Mental Reset course, and it's definitely changing people's lives, and it's I don't want to say it's accelerating, but it's really cool to see how quickly, once people have started the course, their life is starting to change. And so what we do is we go room by room. We start with the way you wake up into your day, and we go room by room through your house, and as we're doing that, we're going through the related areas of our life, and we're looking at the subconscious mind and self-sabotage and these different types of life clutter. And so it's a real hands-on and engaging and interactive way to put all of this work into practice. And once you align your living space with what you want, and you're addressing these internal and external obstacles, whether it's self-sabotage or survival mode, your house is perpetuating what you've planted in the space. And so you're creating, it's like a petri dish. You're creating this petri dish that's going to proliferate the intentions and the values that you've planted. So it's a really powerful process, and I'm excited about it because no one else is doing anything like that I have found. So there's a relationship between our living environment and our mind and the outcomes of our life. And so when we take the seed of your desire and what you want, and we work with this malleable space of your home and your subconscious mind, it's amazing what kind of change you can make happen. And the one thing I do want to say about change is because this isn't about change like we are not good enough as we are, or we should be something different than we are. This is about the change that we're giving more space to who you are and what you want. And so when I talk about change, it doesn't mean you need to do anything differently. It's becoming more of who we already are and allowing more space for who we already are and what we want into our life. And so that's the change that is basically woven through everything that I do. So it's not about you being something different. It's about bringing more of you out, because we have these layers that through our upbringing and through our life story, we have these layers. And a lot of this is about excavating the stuff that wasn't really us in the first place. And it's the stories or the way of living that we sort of agreed to and bought into. And so a lot of this work is about clearing away the things that were never us in the first place and allowing more space for the things that we really want. And doing it through your home, like room by room through your home, is really fun because you get to see results immediately. And it's fun because you're tapping into this new potential. And once you understand the interconnected nature between each room in your home and different areas of your life and different areas of your mind, it just makes sense. And you'll never experience your home the same way again. So does anyone have any questions? I love being able to share this information, and having just this one way sort of delivery is sometimes, I'm just hungry for more connection. So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out. After the live, you can DM me and I'll get back to you. And I think what I'm going to do is next Sunday, as long as my son's baseball game isn't conflicting, I am going to open it up. So if anyone wants to send me a picture, DM me a picture of a specific room. Let me see the question. Let's see. I would love to hear from you an example for this holistic design. Okay. And then lack of space. Oh, I'm getting lots of great questions. Okay. Let me see if I can answer all these. Oh, I love that synchronicity, Josephine. Okay. All right. So one of the questions is, I would love to hear from you an example for this holistic design, a real example. Okay. So when you say a real example of holistic design, what kind of example are you looking at? Do you want an example of what you can do in your home, or do you want an example of a specific circumstance? I'll just say broadly. So if you, and this is just basic. If you walk into your home and there are shoes on the floor and the first thing you see is an open door with, say, a really messy room, that is going to influence how you feel immediately, but also the moments that follow. And so whatever our entry is like sets the tone for the moments that follow. And so when we walk in our space, we want to make sure that there are visual cues or sensorial cues that welcome us home, that support the feelings that we want to experience. If you walk into your front door and you see a stack of bills that you know you have to pay, that's not going to feel good every time you come home. So I hope that helps. Everything in our home, every single item in our home is communicating with our conscious and subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is responsible for 90 to 95% of the thinking. Let's see. I'm reading another question. An example between a space from our home and how to change the subconscious. Yeah. So with the entry, if you're whatever your desire is, right? Because everything has to do with your desire. So if you said, I want you to come to my house and I want you to do what you do for the whole house. I'm going on vacation for 2 months and I just want you to do it and I'll pay you whatever. And I want it to be done when I come back. I'd say, sorry, I can't help you. I can't help you. Like, I have to know what someone wants. I need to know what's going on in their life and what's working and what's not working. And so the thing with holistic design and my version of holistic design is it's very much about the human experience and the individual human experience and what's going on and what they want. And so in answering your question with the entry, I would want to know what are the 3 primary things this person is working on. And if they're working on, they want a relationship in their life and they do not have a relationship right now, I would want to look in their entry and I would want to see what their entry looks like and what speaks to making space for more of what they want. So when I look at their entry, does it say, can I tell anything that's going on with their relationship? And is there room for someone else? Is their entry so small that there isn't enough space for someone else? Is there a visual cue or a sensorial cue happening in the entry that is speaking to, one, they're being single, or they're making space for someone else? Okay. Also, energy clearing with windows open, salt bowl, cleanse. I'm a painter and a creative, and the intention is to create flow and new, fresh energy. Okay, so Josephine, I'm so glad you brought up that you are a creative, because I believe, and from my experience, people who are creatives, and I also want to say, like, everyone's a creative. It's just, have they tapped into their expression? Okay. So I believe we're all artists. We're all creatives. And it's just a matter of finding what that outlet is. And so for practicing creatives, it's your environment, our environment, everyone, all of our environments are important. And as creatives, especially if we're feeling stuck or if we're not where we want to be, we're more sensitive to it. And I want to be careful with this, because with creatives and artists, if you're doing your work in the world, you are going to be more sensitive. The more we follow our desire and the more we put our desire out into the world, the more sensitive we are, because we're feeling more. Like, we know how it feels. Let's see. We know how it feels to be in alignment with what we want. And so when we're in alignment with what we want, when we're putting our work out into the world, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be like how we make money. It's just how we feel fulfilled and how we feel like we have a meaningful life. The more aligned you are with what you want, the more sensitive you are. And that's because you know how good it feels to be in alignment. You know how good it feels to be aligned with your desire. You know how good it feels to be connected. And so that makes you more sensitive to all aspects of your life. You're going to be more sensitive to relationships. You're going to be more sensitive and aware of food. And you're going to be more sensitive and aware of your environment. And so if you are a sensitive, if you are, or a creative, or both, if you're aligning your life with what you want, you're going to become more sensitive, because your life is getting more fine-tuned with what you want. And so, yes, your environment is going to have more of an impact on how you feel. So, yes, keeping the windows open, whatever time of year it is. If you're down under, if you're in the southern hemisphere, if you're in the northern hemisphere, open your windows at least once a day. If it's winter, open your windows for 5 minutes. Just open as many windows as you can for 5 minutes and then close them. It will feel better. It will change the energy of the room. Lighting a candle, like something there's one other thing that I often say, and it's every act is a symbolic gesture. And so just bringing your intention to what you're doing is changing the outcomes. The energy that we put into what we do is shifting our outcomes. So putting an intention with anything, like when you brush your teeth, have an intention for yourself. When you wash your face, have an intention for yourself. Because when we have these routines in our life, and when we take an intention and we plant it into a physical routine, we're creating a ritual, but we're also working with these neural grooves in our mind. Because when we are going through these habitual patterns and these habitual I said habitual habits. When we go through these habitual routines and patterns of our day, if we're not consciously thinking, we're subconsciously thinking. And so it's a great place to bring our intention and to bring our conscious awareness into our routines and planting our intention and planting these thoughts and planting this self-perception and these assumptions and these expectations that we want. When we plant them within our routines, we're creating a ritual and we're changing the subconscious mind. We're making the subconscious more conscious, and we're changing those outdated programs that are happening. So our home is a really rich landscape and canvas for planting more of what we want. So, and this is what the whole mental reset program is about. It's a 12-week program, and it's pretty intense, but you can spread it out through 12 months. You can do it at whatever pace you want. It's just a well-paced program at 12 weeks, and that's how I designed it. But if you're interested in this, I would say first sign up for the tribe and get the free course. And it's like the intro course into your desire and why it's so stinking important. And then if that speaks to you, I would recommend the mental reset, because it goes through your entire day and each room in your home and all these different layers of the subconscious. And it's definitely life changing. And it's really fun to see how people's lives are changing that are taking the course and have taken the course, because it's like you become your own life coach and your own internal guru. It's sort of like a map and a toolkit, and it's really amazing. And I'd love to share it with you. Does anyone have any questions? I think I'm going to sign off here if no one has any questions. And then next Sunday at the same time, as long as my son's not at a baseball game, I am going to offer to look at people's homes. So if you want me to look at a room in your home, and if you want, DM me and I'll look it over and I'll share anonymously next week. So let's see. Why is it so hard for me to call myself a musician or creative? How can I work on strengthening that self-perception? Okay, so that's a great question, because we don't give ourselves permission to be brilliant, right? Like, we give ourselves permission to be small, but we don't give ourselves permission to be freaking fabulous. So let's see. So how can I strengthen my self-perception? So one, write down what your self-perception is right now. Not what you want your self-perception to be, but what is your self-perception right now? And then imagine yourself 5 years from now, like nailing it, like just doing everything that you want and even more. Okay. And just get really viscerally clear about that. And this is like, we'll call it your future self. And this is an exercise that you'll hear a lot of. So imagine the life that you want for yourself. Like, if you could just exponentially have your dreams, whatever you want, and not feeling guilty about it and just asking for everything you want, what would your self-perception be? And then, and I've said this earlier, so I apologize if you heard this already, write it out, and it can be in bullet format, but make sure like that it's not just the facts of what it looks like. Imagine what a scene of that is going to feel like. What is it going to smell like? What's playing in the background? Who's there? Like, imagine these scenes, and then write down your self-perception. Like, what's that going to be in 5 years when you're doing everything you want out in the world? And when you go to bed at night and when you wake up in the morning, that's the thing you read. Before you turn out the light, read that self-perception. Feel the truth of that happening. And the fact that you want it means it's meant for you. And so that's why I want, if any of this speaks to y'all, sign up for my tribe. It's a free membership. You'll get a newsletter or a note from me every Sunday, but you also get a free intro course into all of this work. And so get that, get viscerally clear about your desires, clean up your self-perception with that future self exercise. Every night when you go to bed, read that, and then daydream and imagine what that life is going to be like and feel it like it's happening right now as you're drifting to sleep. And then when you wake up, pick up again, read that piece of paper, and don't get out of bed until you feel excited that that dream is actually is already at play in your life. And the reason why I said sign up for the tribe and do that membership so you can get that free course is within that course, I have a talk on desire, a recording on desire, and why it's so, so, so important that we acknowledge and follow our desire. Okay. Any more questions? Let's see. I did not see, there's one person, let's see. Is there a technique I can use to declutter and let go of energy quickly and easily? So when I speak of clutter, there are between 8 and 11 different types of clutter. So I'm going to assume you're speaking of physical clutter. And so this is my rule of thumb for physical clutter in your home. If you do not use it, if you do not love it, and if it doesn't support your goals, it's clutter and it doesn't have a purpose in your life. If you do not use it, if you do not love it, if it does not support your goals, then it's clutter and it's getting in your way. So that's what I would recommend, is follow that litmus test for clutter. And this does apply to all the other types of clutter too, but it's, since this one, I think we're focusing on physical clutter. Do I use it? Do I love it? Is it supporting my goals and my desires? And that's why it's so important to know what you want, because when we know what we want, it's easier to determine what's getting in the way. So I hope that helps. All right. And again, I would love to invite all of you to join my tribe. I send a free newsletter or a little note out every Sunday. You get discounts on all of my products, like ongoing discounts. And right now it has, I'm including a free intro course, which talks about desire and everything you want. So, yeah. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to sign off. And remember, if you would like me to look at your space and to share it on next Sunday's call, I won't say whose space it is, but I will share it on next Sunday's call if I can. I'm not sure how to share photos, but I'm sure there's a way and I can figure it out. And I will help you address your space. So if you want to do that, send me one picture of your space and tell me the top 3 things that you want to work on in your life. And so if I had a magic wand and could improve 3 areas of your life, which 3 areas would it be? And then take a picture of the room in your home that is either the most bothersome to you or the one you want me to look at. Okay. If you have any questions, DM me. Thanks for being here and have a lovely, lovely day.